What's up, marketers? Last year, I released this video that talked about the only 4 audiences that I use on my Facebook ads. And now in 2024, I am only using 2 audiences. I even did a quick analysis across 10 brands' Facebook ad accounts. And as you can see, pretty much everyone is using ASC and lookalike targeting is dead in the water. So today we are going to talk about the only 2 audiences I'm using right now on Facebook ads. We're also going to dive way more into this chart. And I'm also going to be giving you some tips if these 2 audiences don't seem to be working out for you. And I'm also going to talk about the other campaign that no one talks about. And I actually consider this to be a different type of targeting. So maybe I actually use 3, but more on that later. Okay, so let's dive into it. These are the only 2 audiences I'm using for targeting right now on my Facebook ads. And I'm going to keep this super simple. Broad and Advantage Plus shopping. What I've found over the last year is lookalikes are completely dead and interests have been losing a ton of steam, but sometimes they can work temporarily. I generally find when a brand is doing a lot of interest targeting, it's a band-aid for poor performance and they should probably just be investing all of that energy and effort into making creatives. Now let's take a look at Broad and Advantage Plus shopping. These are different audiences, let me explain. So Broad is simple, right? This is completely open targeting, no lookalikes, no custom audiences, no interest targeting. Maybe we'll have some guardrails on age, location, and gender if applicable, but for the most part, broader here is better. And I always get some people that are a little scared to test broad audiences because, oh, what if the algorithm doesn't know? Trust me, the algorithm knows. It's using your creative to target and hit the right people. But it's really important that you start using broader audiences because you're training the algorithm to look at everyone and zone in on the people who are going to be the best fit for your business. Also, it's the most scalable audience. Now, Advantage Plus shopping is a little bit more complicated. And something that Facebook has actually said is that ASCs actually work on a spectrum of intent. So this is going to include explicit intent and implicit intent. So what is explicit intent? So these are your retargeting audiences, right? These are people who have an explicit interest in you and your brand and your product. So maybe they've been to your website, they've added to cart, or they've engaged with you on social media. Now, an implicit intent is people who are a little bit more up funnel. So they're people potentially who are in market for your product or service, but they haven't actually discovered you yet. So a really simple way to think about this is maybe you're in the market for a mattress and you go to Casper to look at their mattresses. But then when you visit Facebook or Instagram the next time, you see, oh, all these other mattress companies are hitting me up. That's because you have an implicit interest in their brand or business because they are looking at the products that are being sold against your competitors and then putting you in the line of fire for a different option, essentially. Now, what I think is really cool of that Advantage Plus is essentially it starts off as a retargeting audience that essentially trains the algorithm to then look for other people who look like the people that have that explicit interest. It's kind of like having a retargeting campaign teach your algorithm. And since it's targeting everyone, it's infinitely scalable, which is very good for you. Now, if you want to learn more about Advantage Plus shopping, I have an entire video right here that is going to do a deep dive on everything you need to know about how to actually set up that campaign alongside your campaigns that you're currently running. So Broad and Advantage Plus, those are the only 2 targeting audiences that I use on my Facebook ads. And you know, the third, but more on that in a bit. And if you're enjoying this video, please be sure to give me a like and subscribe. Those small actions really do help me out as a creator. No, I'll wait. You can do it now. Okay, now let's take a look at this chart, right? We have 10 different brands, several different industries. These are the monthly budgets that they've been using over the last 30 days, number of live current campaigns, if they're using retargeting, if they're using ASC, if they're using interests, and if they're using lookalikes. So big thing right here, is anyone using lookalikes? No. And not many people are using interest targeting either. Retargeting is also massively on the decline because everyone's using ASC, and the idea there is that they are getting those retargeting audiences in those ASC campaigns. So let's take a look at some of these individual brands, right? Let's look at brand number 3 at first. This is one of the only ones that was doing a lot of interest targeting, and to be honest, it wasn't really doing that well for them. They were getting a lot better performance coming out of Broad. However, I think the reason why they're doing it is they weren't necessarily reaching their goal across the board. This brand should be doing more creative testing, but right now they're trying to mitigate performance by quickly testing out different audiences, and it's not really working. And let's look at brand number 5, spending $20K over the last 30 days in the home goods industry. And what's interesting here is I had them marked down for no for both interests and lookalikes, but it is actually something that they've tested over the last 60 days, but turned off due to poor performance. And they actually did the exact structure that I recommend when brands need to test out interest or a little bit of lookalike targeting, but broad ended up being the most effective for them, which is something that I see a lot. Now let's take a look at brand number 7. Now this is one of the only brands where their interest targeting was performing better than broad. And they had tested lookalikes recently, but it was a huge flop. For brand number 8 in skincare, I said that they weren't doing any retargeting, but they did have a loyalty campaign, which means that they were targeting current and past customers. Sometimes people lump this into retargeting, but I do consider it more of a loyalty campaign since you've already acquired those customers before in the past. And something that I wanted to note across a lot of these brands too is that many of them are actually starting to use multiple ASC campaigns. And this is something that I see more and more brands are starting to do. So they'll have an ASC campaign with their top performing creatives, but then maybe they'll also have an ASC campaign for a special offer that's temporary. Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a great example. Or if they want to test out something specific for a specific category. Now, one of the number one questions I get is, okay, Dara, Advantage Plus shopping and broad aren't working for me. What do I do? The first thing I always check out is if they're testing the right types of creatives and they have a strong creative strategy. Generally, it's no. And I see a lot of people getting into the trap of thinking that interest targeting and lookalike targeting are going to help them when it seldom does. And it's oftentimes the creative and product strategy and offer strategy that really helps drive things forward. However, I'm still of the mindset that everything should be tested. And if broad and ASC aren't working for you, then I would generally recommend this setup. So this is the old scaling prospecting setup of mine. I still use it if I see a brand is really struggling and we might need to try and get an easy, quick win and we have some new creatives coming down the pipeline, but they're not quite ready yet. So I will do a stacked interest group, a stacked lookalike and broad. But again, 9 times out of 10 recently, it's still the broad that's working here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of traction out of the interest ad set for a little bit, but it generally doesn't last as long. And I would launch this with your current top performing creative to date. And again, if you do this and you still don't find that the results are there, it's probably a creative issue. I'm generally always willing to bet that it's never a targeting issue, but it's better to be proven wrong on that. My suggestion here, if you're stuck with the creatives, I have tons of amazing videos on great creatives that you can make literally today, literally for free, that nearly always convert. Be sure to check those out and also make sure that you've tested all major formats. Okay, now let's talk about the potential third audience. And you're gonna understand why I categorize this as a different audience. But these are catalog ads or the DPAs, the dynamic product ads. Catalog ads are a huge category. In fact, Meta actually released a statistic recently that showed that 70% of all retail and e-commerce went to DPAs. Some of the biggest retailers in the world primarily use this, like Champion, Revolve, Hanes. Now, the reason why I consider this a different audience is because it is a different delivery structure inside of Meta ads. In fact, the algorithm actually reads your SKU level data to help deliver the ads to the right people. They're looking at everything from the product, the price range, the color, the sizes, even the fabric. So say you're selling a black leather shoe in the $70 to $80 range, but size 10 is sold out. If someone is looking for that size 10 shoe, Meta will actually look through the catalog of different competitors and show them similar shoes. So I consider this to be a huge competitive hack. And I know what you're thinking, if I avoid doing catalog ads, is Meta then gonna deliver that stuff to my competitors? Still yes, so you might as well be on the receiving end of that. I've recently learned a lot about catalog ads from my friend Dan at Marpipe. He's really doing amazing things, and we have a huge interview coming out soon all about the most boring ad in the world. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And that's it. I will see you guys next week. If you got all the way to the end of this video, let me know what your favorite audience is in the comments. See you. Bye.